Garden update. You can see everything's well grown at this point. A lot of things are blooming. Some things I'm already picking and eating. You can see the radishes. I've been picking and eating them. You can see they're nice big ones. They did really well. My Swiss chard is one disappointment. I do have some plants, but a lot of the seeds didn't pop, so I planted pole beans in between the plants, and they're coming up nice. They're actually starting to bloom. Arugula, I've been eating arugula like crazy. You can see they're just starting to get to the point where they're going to start bolting. Once they bolt, the leaves become a little bitter, kind of peppery. So, still a lot to eat here. Been eating it like crazy. Arugula salads almost every day. But once they start to get peppery and bitter, I'll pull this row out and plant something else in here. Did have a couple zucchini plants pop up in between my rows. Just let them go on their own, get a couple fruit out of them, and then I'll pull them out of the way. My kale's doing nice. When the kale leaves are this young, eat them in a salad fresh. When they get a little older than that, I cook them as a cooked green. See, my pepper plants are doing really well. I have been getting some peppers off of these pepper plants here. My beans, I did replant the beans. I had all bush beans here, and that mole ate all my seeds, so I took care of the mole. But I did replant bush beans on this end here, and then I went with the purple pole bean here. You can see they're blooming now. And I went with the Asian bean, pole bean here. And of course I have basil planted here, there, and everywhere, wherever I have extra room. All of my tomato rows did surprisingly well. In fact, they're all blooming now. Just have one plant that didn't quite get size to it. But all the plants are doing really well, all the varieties. Very thick, dark, healthy looking plants. Full of blooms. I already have some small tomatoes in there. Cucumber patch just loaded with blooms. You can see it's spreading all over the place here. Of course, more basil. I did get some growth out of these herbs that I planted in the back here. This is more sage. You'll see I have some wild edibles here and there in this garden that I left alone. I haven't weeded in over a week, but everything looks good. This is a plant I'll talk about at another time. This comes up wild all the time in this area. Here's my three sisters. You see the corn's looking really good. Not as good as I would want. And of course I have the pole bean growing up the corn and then onto my trellis that I made here. Some of the corn is blooming already over here. This is a hill of zucchini, and over here is a hill of pumpkin. And you can see they're really widespread. They're covering this whole area. The third sister I did plant over here, but don't see anything happening. I don't know if they were bad seeds or something got to them before they popped. But I do have the third sister over here. It's going to help shade this area to keep the weeds down. And maybe I'll replant the third sister. But just to show you how the whole garden's doing, it's probably one of the best gardens I've had in years and years as far as plant health and plant growth and the potential to produce. It looks really good. And perhaps I'll do a video on the wild edibles that are growing here, as well as the wild edibles that are in this general area that just come up on their own, that are there for the taking. That's a sweet potato plant. I do have two of them in the garden. We finally ate those sweet potatoes from last year, and they had some buds on them, so I just planted them, see what happens. Not counting on it, but let them go, do their own thing. See, I left the compost pile to do its own thing, and it has potato plants all through it. Many of them bloomed already, some of them are blooming now. And I have squash and I have a pumpkin plant growing and a couple pumpkin plants. And the pumpkin plants are currently blooming now. And of course it's growing way out here. Large pumpkin plant. So that's what I do with my compost pile in the summertime to keep it from getting overrun with weeds during the summer. I just let those zucchini, squash, and whatever plants come up, just let them do their own thing. In fact, there's even a horseradish plant back here. Anyway.